Dear students, Sairam. In my previous session, I told you about indigenous banking system, Sthaliya banking vyavasthe. How indigenous banking system contributed to the development of trade and commerce. It is history now, because when metal coins were introduced as a medium of exchange, the people started depending on metal coins. They stopped barter system. Earlier they were selling products with products. They stopped that, and soon after introducing that coins, all products started valuation or grading. Ondondu products ge ondondu value bantu. They have fixed coins or value. Then they started producing more and more. Gradually it gave birth to money lenders or banking system, credit facility. Today in this session we will see another factor which is responsible for the development or gradual development of trade and commerce. We are seeing about evolution of commerce. Evolution of commerce. Under that trade comes. Evolution andre gradual development. ಹಂತ ಹಂತವಾಗಿ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಒಂದು ಕಡೆ ನಾವು ಎವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತೇವೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಡೆ ರೆವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಎರಡು ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಎವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ವಿಕಾಸ, ರೆವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಕ್ರಾಂತಿ. ಕ್ರಾಂತಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಒಮ್ಮೆಲೆ ಆಗುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಎವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ ಬೈ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗುವಂಥದ್ದು. Now for the development of trade and commerce, another factor which was responsible was transport. Sanchara. So you know, for any development that requires transport facilities. If you see at the present also, each and everyone, they want road. Why do they want road? To transport goods or to go to other places. They want vehicle to be parked in front of their house. If transport facility is there, the valuation only increases. Value increases. So there is an value addition. When banking system started, transport system was inevitable. Inevitable andre anivarya. Yake anivarya? Yakendre production ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಯಿತು. Production ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆದಾಗ ಎರಡು ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳು ಆದವು. They divided society into two parts. One section product producers, another section consumers. Consumers are also doing other works, and they were buying food crops or any related products from one particular place. So it gave birth for market, gradual development of market. For all these, main thing is transport. So in our country, we have historical record that there was land transport and water transport. Our country was very popular because our country's location itself is supportive for the development of all these things. So at that time, you know, they wanted to shift one thing or products from one place to another place. Like China to Europe, Silk route was there. In the same way, from Japan coast till Europe, they were going through water or sea route. And there are some routes, especially all these routes were popular as trade routes. The term trade comes here. Trade routes. ವ್ಯಾಪಾರದ ಮಾರ್ಗಗಳು. The roads were very popularly known as the trade routes. ಇದೇ ಒಂದು ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ, ಇದೇ ಒಂದು ಹಿಸ್ಟಾರಿಕಲ್ ಎವಿಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅಸ್. ದಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಇದು ಬಿಗಿನಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆದಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾರ್ಗಗಳು ಕೂಡ ವ್ಯಾಪಾರದ ಮಾರ್ಗಗಳಾಗಿದ್ದವು, ವ್ಯಾಪಾರಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಇದ್ದಂಥ ಮಾರ್ಗಗಳಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು. ಈಗ ನಾವು ವ್ಯಾಪಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಈಗ ರೋಡ್ ಈಸ್ ಆರ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್, ಎನಿ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್. ಈಗ ಅದು ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ಗೆ ಸೇರಿ ಹೋಗಿದೆ. Trade routes. If you go little back, there was fight for controlling trade routes. Con routes were very powerful. That people or kings wanted to control the trade routes. Kings wanted to control the trade routes. For controlling trade routes, the neighboring kings were fighting each other. So in history we see conflicts were common, and afterwards they were becoming rivalry. ಮತ್ತೆ ಅವರು ಪರ್ಮನೆಂಟ್ ಎನಿಮಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಫಾರ್ ವಾಟ್? ಫಾರ್ ದ ಸೇಕ್ ಆಫ್ controlling trade routes. See, here also trade routes only mean. So they were fighting for the controlling trade routes. If we go back ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹಿಂದೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ, you know, India was a center for trade. Based on India, we are studying about the history of trade and commerce. When we go back, there were so many records related to controlling of trade routes which were moving over India. You might have seen about Roman Empire. During Roman Empire, they were coming to India to collect pepper ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕಾಳು ಮೆಣಸನ್ನ ಭಾರತದಿಂದ ಕೊಂಡೋಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ರೋಮನ್ ಎಂಪೈರ್ ಇಂದ ಜನ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಅ ಪರ್ಮನೆಂಟ್ ರೂಟ್, ಅವರದ್ದೇ ಆದಂಥ ರೂಟ್ ಇತ್ತು. ಆ ರೂಟ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅಲ್ಲ, ದಟ್ ರೂಟ್, ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ರೂಟ್, ಫಾರ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ದೇರ್ ವೇರ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ವೇರ್ ಫೈಟಿಂಗ್. Sometimes if they were not able to conquer or control the route, they were going to alternative roads, ಅಥವಾ ಬೇರೆ ಮಾರ್ಗಗಳನ್ನು ಅವರು ಕಂಡುಹಿಡಿತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಈ ಪೆಪ್ಪರ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಪವರ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂದರೆ, ದ ಪೆಪ್ಪರ್ ವಾಸ್ ಸೋ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ವೇರ್ ಕಾಲಿಂಗ್ ಆಸ್ ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಗೋಲ್ಡ್. ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲರ್ಲಿ ನೋನ್ ಆಸ್ ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಗೋಲ್ಡ್. ಚಿನ್ನದಂತ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಇತ್ತು ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕೆ? ಪೆಪ್ಪರಿಗೆ, ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದೋಸ್ ಸ್ಪೈಸಸ್. ಸೊ ಟು ಬೈ ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಗೋಲ್ಡ್, very less rate, cheap rate they were buying. They were coming by separate routes and they started conquering that route only. If they don't get, or if they were not able to come through that route, they were searching alternative routes. You might have seen in social, because of this only Columbus discovered America, because he was going through sea and he wanted to go to some places. Same way 1498 Vasco da Gama came to India. He was also in search of routes, right? So here some of the places like Calicut or Pulicat is mentioned in the history. Now you might have understood. So 1498 Vasco da Gama came to India, the same reason, to control the trade routes. But he was not able to control the trade routes. He wanted to have something alternative routes. ಒಂದು ಬದಲಾದ ಮಾರ್ಗವನ್ನು ಅವನು ಕಂಡುಹಿಡಿಯಲಿಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಬಂದ. So like this, when these developments of, that is transport or trade route controlling was there started strengthening of fighting each other. They wanted the route to take this. They wanted trade routes to take black gold, to transport black gold. They wanted land or water, both they were trying to control. Sometimes they were not able to control the trade routes. In that case, what happened? They started searching alternative routes. So you know about discovery of Columbus in the 15th century, or we see Vasco da Gama. He came to India in search of spices and he found trade route. So like that, different people, they started discovering new trade routes. So it strengthened transport strengthened trade and commerce. Now, because of this development, it gave birth to trading communities. The people who do only trades. So, emergence of trading communities. Emergence of trading communities. Emergence of trading communities. Community means, the people or group of people who are involved in trade only, buying from one place and selling in another place. Buying from one place and selling to another place. Now what happened? Earlier also there were trading communities. Now trading communities become very strong, or trading communities strengthened. We have in history, there are some names, very popular names. Even now also we have the names Punjabi. Some of the trading communities, just for your information, Punjabi or Multani. Punjabi and Multani. Even now we see these communities. They are merchants of North India. At that time, merchants were recognized with the place. Who are merchants? Merchants means the people who were involved in trades. Their work is trade only. They were buying from one place and selling to another place. They developed their communities only. As a result of that, later on, they became very popular and also popularly known as trading communities. They were recognized from the place of their origin. So here Multani or Punjabi, they are all place. Punjab, Multan, they were recognized from the place. Like that only Gujarat. Butts were there. Now also we can see Butts, Gujarat and Rajasthan. Butts, one of the communities, they were also doing business only. Like that only in Western India, Mahajans were there. Mahajans in Western India, Western part of India, Mahajans, they were also doing business. They were also engaged in business. And in history we can see chief of Mahajans, Nagarashet we used to call. Like that only Chat in South India, Chat or Chatti, South. So these communities started developing. Their work only was buying and selling of goods. See the development. We have reached till here now from Silk route or spice route. When these developed, there was chance for the advancement of professionals, that is ancient professionals who were doing professional service, that is were giving medicine, physician we used to call Hakim or Vaid. They were physicians or giving medicine. Hakim we used to call. Who were those? Along with these communities also developed. They were buying and selling of goods. These people were giving medicine sometimes, or they were giving other things and collecting money. So profession also started emerging now. Or we can say Wakil. Another term, Wakil. So it was lawyer. They called lawyer, Wakil. Or we say teacher, Pandit. Or Mullah. In Bengal side, now also there are Mullah. Mullah means teachers who are teaching others. So like that, one by one. Along with this, painters. So painters also emerged. Then musicians in the court poet, like that only court musician, Sangeetagaru. Adetara calligraphers who are writing, good handwriting people, they emerged. See there, we have reached now to the professional level. Earlier, they were not knowing anything, but the gradual development made the advancement of all these things. When the community enhancement or development started, people started developing, doing other business also. They were not really business, they were their professional service. Now, along with goods, service also started. So, along with goods, service also introduced in the society. So then what happened? When all these started, there started about the ruling or maintaining of this. So we see about merchant corporations. So this gave birth to merchant corporations. So I'll write here merchant corporations. Merchant corporations. Merchant corporations. You might have heard the word corporation. Corporation andre nigama athava one group of companies. Corporate world might have heard corporation. Igina bala powerful business andre yavudu corporate companies. Corporate companies andre large company or group of companies with the head, with their own administration. They are autonomous corporations, autonomous body. Nigama ಅಥವಾ ಮಂಡಳಿ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತೇವೆ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ. ಈಗ ಏನಾಯಿತು, we have come from transport also caused the development or advancement of trade. Trading community started, they started doing particular work only, that is buying and selling of goods. Then other professions have emerged in the society. Later merchant corporations started emerging in the society. Even king also accepted this. King also said, no problem, you can continue the business. So hence we can say merchant corporations were mainly to what? The work of merchant corporations to look after the business, look after the trade and commerce. Look after the trade and commerce. So there were professional code of conduct. ಈ ಮರ್ಚೆಂಟ್ ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಷನ್ ಹೆಡ್ ಇದ್ದಾರಲ್ಲ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅವರದ್ದೇ ಆದಂಥ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಇತ್ತು, ಅವರದ್ದೇ ಆದಂತಹ ಕೋಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಾಂಡಕ್ಟ್ ಇತ್ತು. ಸೊ ಕಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ accepted this, and also they started controlling the people by collecting tax. They started collecting tax like octroi or customs duty, or like other property tax. We can say property tax, land tax, tariffs, like that they started collecting. When they started collecting tax, these corporations were collecting from the traders and giving to the king. So from here what happened? Trade became still more strong. Trade or commerce became still more strong, and collecting money or the tax which was collected, they were building temples. You might have seen earlier, kings were collecting tax, and if they have any excess, they were building temple. The main purpose of building temple was to protect them, as well as to show their power, show their wealth. So here so they used this tax for building temples and also fort. They wanted fort also. Fort andre kote. They wanted fort also to avoid the attacks of nearby king, and temples also. So from here it is not there. We are seeing only trade and commerce. From here the spirit of bhakti also started. The idea of bhakti. Bhakti means the people who had problem, they started going to temples or to offer their prayer to the God. So when our wealth increases, problem also comes. When problem comes, we try to solve ourselves. At last we go to temples. So like that only, there are many temples. You might have seen Somanatha temple, richest temple of medieval period. Ghazni Muhammad came to India. He came from central Afghanistan. He was coming regularly to Indian subcontinent, and attacking temples and looting all those wealth from the temple. So that shows that a temple was store of wealth. Store of wealth. Now, just see here, these developments or this merchant corporations developed another important thing, that is trade centers. So trade centers. So the next important development was trade centers, growth of trade centers, ವ್ಯಾಪಾರ ಕೇಂದ್ರಗಳ ಉಗಮ, ವ್ಯಾಪಾರ ಕೇಂದ್ರಗಳ ಉಗಮ, ವ್ಯಾಪಾರ ಕೇಂದ್ರಗಳ ಉಗಮವೇ ನಿಜವಾದ ಒಂದು ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್. ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್, ಅಲ್ಲಿಯ ತನಕ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಅಂತ ಯಾವುದು ಕೂಡ ಪ್ರಸಿದ್ಧಿ ಪಡೆದಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ವೆನ್ ಮರ್ಚೆಂಟ್ ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಷನ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲಿಂಗ್ ದ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್, ದೇ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಫೈಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಔಟ್ ದ ಪ್ಲೇಸಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಫೋರ್ಟ್ ಟೌನ್ಸ್ or the people or the kings or manufacturing towns. You can write manufacturing towns where highest manufacturing are going on. Like our Bangalore, IT city, BT city we call, no? Like that only. Mercantile town or sacred towns. Sacred towns we divide into three parts. One is port towns. Like that only manufacturing towns, then sacred towns. All these were popular not only for their buying and selling, people started going there, and also the number, the business or trade and commerce also increased. So likewise, if you see some of the important places, just you see here, just try to recognize the places at present. Might have seen Pataliputra, one place. Pataliputra was very powerful, very famous. Patna it is. Like that only Peshawar, the another one is Taxila ಅಥವಾ ತಕ್ಷಶಿಲಾ. ಪೇಶಾವರ ಮತ್ತು ತಕ್ಷಶಿಲಾ ಎರಡು ಕೂಡ ಈಗ ಪಾಕಿಸ್ತಾನದಲ್ಲಿದೆ. ಅದೇ ತರ ಇಂದ್ರಪ್ರಸ್ಥ ನಿಯರ್ ಡೆಲ್ಲಿ, ಇಂದ್ರಪ್ರಸ್ಥ ವೆರಿ ಫೇಮಸ್. ಸೊ ದ ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಟ್ ಟೈಮ್, ಪಾಟಲಿಪುತ್ರ, like that only Peshawar, ತಕ್ಷಶಿಲಾ, ಇಂದ್ರಪ್ರಸ್ಥ. ದೆನ್ ಅವರ್ ಏನ್ಷಿಯಂಟ್ ಮಥುರಾ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬಹುದು, ಉತ್ತರ ಪ್ರದೇಶ, ಮಥುರಾ. ಅದೇ ತರ ವಾರಣಾಸಿ ಉತ್ತರ ಪ್ರದೇಶ, ಮಿಥಿಲಾ ನೇಪಾಳದಲ್ಲಿದೆ. ಇದು ಮಿಥಿಲಾ, ಇನ್ ರಾಮಾಯಣ ಇಟ್ ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಮಿಥಿಲಾ. Like that only Ujjain is in present Madhya Pradesh. Like that only Surat in Gujarat. Like that only Kanchi. ಅದೇ ತರ ಮಧುರೈ, ಅದೇ ತರ ಬ್ರೋಚ್, that is in Gujarat area. So like that only Kaveri Pattanam, it is in Tamil Nadu. Like that only in Tamralipet in Bengal. So ಈ ಏರಿಯಾಗಳು ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ಇದೆ. ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಟೌನ್ಸು, ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರಿಂಗ್ ಟೌನ್ಸು, ಸೇಕ್ರೆಡ್ ಟೌನ್ಸ್, they became very powerful. When trade centers started, or the development of trade centers, the trade and commerce started flourishing. Sudden development. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಏನಾಯಿತು, the trade and commerce started developing in double speed, high speed development. As a result of that, producers and consumers, they separated. One side ಅಲ್ಲಿ producers, another place ಅಲ್ಲಿ consumers. Those who are doing all other works other than production, they became consumers for produced goods. ನೋಡಿ, ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಇದೆ. ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರಿಂಗ್ ತಯಾರಿ ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಈಗ ಏನಾಯ್ತು ಗೊತ್ತಾ, ಆಸ್ ಎ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದೀಸ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್, producers as well as consumers were separate. Those who are not producing all became consumers. Those who are not producing all became consumers. And for shifting from producers to consumers, they started intermediaries. Yesterday also I said, so this time highest role played by intermediaries ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮಧ್ಯವರ್ತಿಗಳು, ಮಿಡ್ಲ್ ಮೆನ್ಗಳು ಬಂದರು. ಮಿಡ್ಲ್ ಮೆನ್ಗಳು ಬಂದಾಗ ಒಂದರ ಹಿಂದೆ ಬೇರೆ ದೇಶದವರು ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ಬರಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆರಂಭಿಸಿದರು. ಬೇರೆ ದೇಶದಿಂದ ಕೂಡ people started coming here. First they came to India by controlling the trade routes. Trade routes ಅನ್ನು ಸರ್ಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಭಾರತಕ್ಕೆ ಬರಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆರಂಭಿಸಿದರು. Trade routes, they were fighting each other. And you know what happened in India? Western country people, they started coming to India. Why did they come? Because India was that much prosperous. ಅಷ್ಟು ಪ್ರಸಿದ್ಧಿ ಪಡೆದಿತ್ತು, ಅಷ್ಟು ಹೆಸರುವಾಸಿಯಾಗಿರುವಂತಹ ದೇಶ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಒನ್ ಬೈ ಒನ್ ದೇ ಕೇಮ್ ಟು ಇಂಡಿಯಾ. ದೇ changed the history of India. All those we will see in next class.